Another opportunity you undertook, while studying your undergraduate degree was working as a medical secretary at the Coroner's Court and Forensic Medicine Complex in New South Wales. You've been doing that for the last couple of years. From my understanding, your role was to prepare autopsy reports for the coroner. So, just to start off with, for those that aren't aware, like myself, what exactly does the Coroner's Court do?
Yes. So the coroner's court is essentially a court in New South Wales where you have a coroner that basically decides if a person that has passed away, if they need to undergo an autopsy. So it's usually for unnatural deaths. For example, like a motor vehicle accident or a fire or a suicide, anything like that. The coroner will decide that that person usually needs to undergo an autopsy to investigate and confirm cause of death. So the coroner will basically order one of the forensic pathologists to perform an autopsy. So forensic pathologists are doctors; they have medical degrees that are licensed to perform autopsies and basically look for cause of death in a dead person. And then the medical secretaries type up the autopsy reports that basically summarize the findings from the autopsy and the cause of death, which is then referred back to the coroner for approval.
I'm really curious, what was it like working at the coroner's court? For example, what was a typical day in the life of a medical secretary at the coroner's court?
It can be very depressing. I'm not going to lie. You have to be very sort of okay with reading about death and reading about how people died. A lot of the times you have to read about the moments leading up to death, and that stuff can be very like confronting. It's certainly not, a joyous occasion to go to work sometimes
Mm.
with the type of cases you deal with. And initially, when I first started my job, I was getting really affected by the cases. Some of the cases were very sad, but I would just sort of I just kind of talk to my friends about it with keeping confidentiality, of course. Just talk to my friends,
Mm.
talk about my feelings, how those cases affected me mentally and emotionally. And that really helped me vent. And now I have to say I'm a lot better at dealing with these cases and I don't let it affect me emotionally. But that being said, there are sometimes cases that are really sad and you just have to sort of take a moment from it and just gather yourself before you can continue. But it's also very interesting to work at the coroner's court because you get to see a lot of interesting cases. And for someone that's interested in medicine, this has been the best job because I've got to learn a lot about pathology, forensic pathology, which is really cool, anatomy. So a lot of things that I've learned that have further fueled my desire to pursue medicine.